Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the amount of stuff in your life? Not just physical objects, but also commitments, worries, and thoughts that never seem to let up. What if I told you there was an ancient way to escape this cycle of stress and find true peace of mind? Today I'm going to share with you 7 secrets from Eastern minimalist philosophy that have completely transformed my life and can transform yours too. These aren't just superficial advice on how to fold clothes or organize drawers. They're profound principles that go far beyond tidying up and touch the essence of how we live and relate to the world around us. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how people who have practiced these principles for centuries have managed to live with less stress, more mental clarity, and a sense of peace that seems almost impossible in today's hectic world. The most incredible thing is that you don't have to radically change your life or abandon everything you know. Small changes applied consistently have the power to create huge transformations. What I'm going to share with you today has completely changed my relationship with time, with my belongings, and most importantly, with myself. If you're tired of feeling constantly stressed, anxious, and lacking time for what really matters, this video could be the turning point you've been looking for. Let's start with the first secret, which alone has the power to revolutionize your daily experience. The power of empty space. The first secret of Eastern minimalism to finding peace is to understand and appreciate the power of empty space. In the Eastern philosophical tradition, emptiness is not seen as a void to be filled, but as an essential and active element that allows everything else to exist in harmony. It is like the silence between musical notes, without which there would be no melody, only noise. Our problem in the modern world is that we have developed a deep discomfort with emptiness. We feel an almost compulsive need to fill every inch of space in our homes, every minute in our schedules, every moment of silence in our conversations. We look at a blank wall and immediately think about how to decorate it. We find a free moment and quickly fill it by checking messages or social media. This aversion to emptiness is at the root of much of the stress we feel on a daily basis. When there is no room to breathe, to think, to simply be, we live in a constant state of sensory and mental overload. To apply this principle to your life, start by intentionally creating empty spaces in your physical environment. Choose a room in your home, perhaps your living room or bedroom, and remove at least a third of the clutter from it. You don't have to get rid of it permanently. You can temporarily store it somewhere else. Live with this clearer space for 2 weeks and notice how you feel when you're in this space. Many people report an immediate sense of relief, as if they can finally breathe deeply. Empty physical space automatically creates mental space. Our thoughts become clearer, our minds are less agitated. It's as if by removing the visual clutter around us, we're also removing layers of mental noise that we didn't even know were there. This is just the first step, but it's transformative. By consciously creating empty space in your home, you're creating the conditions for a calmer, more present mind. You're establishing not only a physical sanctuary, but also a mental sanctuary where you can find moments of true peace amidst the hustle and bustle of the modern world. The practice of one thing at a time. The second secret of Eastern minimalist wisdom for escaping stress is the practice of doing one thing at a time, with full presence and attention. This principle runs directly counter to the modern glorification of multitasking, which would have us believe that multitasking is a sign of productivity and efficiency. In fact, this fragmented approach is at the root of much of the stress and burnout we experience. The fundamental problem is that our brains were not designed to perform multiple complex tasks at once. What we call multitasking is actually rapidly switching our attention between different activities, which drains our mental energy and diminishes our ability to focus. Each time we switch focus, from the message we're writing to the notification that just arrived, from the conversation we're having to thinking about what to have for dinner, we use up some of our limited mental energy. By the end of the day, we feel exhausted, even if we don't understand exactly why. To apply this principle to your life, start by consciously choosing to do a single activity at a time with full presence. It could be as simple as drinking a cup of tea without doing anything else at the same time. No TV, no phone, no talking. Just you and the tea. Notice the color, smell the aroma, feel the temperature of the cup in your hands, savor each sip with complete attention. It may seem trivial, but this simple exercise is revolutionary in a world where we rarely do just one thing. Gradually extend this practice to other daily activities. When you're eating, just eat. When you're talking to someone, just talk, without checking your phone or thinking about what you need to do next. When you're working on a project, close all other browser tabs and unnecessary apps. The benefits of this practice are immediate and profound. First, you'll experience a completely different quality in each activity, discovering nuances and pleasures that usually go unnoticed in the rush of multitasking. Second, your efficiency will increase significantly. Studies show that we complete tasks faster and with fewer errors when we focus exclusively on them. Third, and perhaps most importantly, you will experience a noticeable reduction in stress levels, as your brain will no longer be constantly overwhelmed by fragmented attention. Detachment as a path to freedom. The third secret of Eastern minimalist philosophy for finding peace is the practice of conscious detachment. This principle teaches that our tendency to cling tightly to objects, outcomes, opinions, and even certain self-images is a constant source of suffering and stress. When we cling tightly to what we have or what we want, we paradoxically create the perfect conditions for anxiety to flourish. The central problem we face in the modern world is that we have been conditioned to believe that our happiness and security depend on accumulating and maintaining control over our possessions, our circumstances, our relationships. This mindset of scarcity and control keeps us in a constant state of tension, always fearing that we will lose what we have or not get what we want. We live with clenched fists, holding on tightly to everything we consider important, without realizing that this very tension prevents us from receiving new and better things. To apply the principle of detachment to your life, start by identifying areas where your attachment is causing unnecessary suffering. This could be clinging to certain objects that you hold on to even though you don't use or like them, simply because you are afraid that you will need them in the future. It could be attachment to routines and habits that no longer serve your well-being. Or it could be attachment to certain expectations about how things should be that often lead to frustration when reality turns out differently. Choose one of these areas and practice consciously letting go. If it's an attachment to physical objects, select 10 items that you've been holding on to just in case, and donate them to someone who really needs them right now. If it's attachment to expectations, practice entering situations with an open mind, without predetermined scripts about how everything should happen. The benefits of letting go are profound and often surprising. First, you experience an immediate sense of lightness and freedom, as if you've lifted a weight that you've been carrying for so long that you no longer even noticed it was there. Second, you become more adaptable and resilient in the face of life's inevitable changes, since you're not so rigidly attached to how things should be. Third, and perhaps most unexpected, you become more open to new possibilities and experiences since you are no longer so invested in keeping everything exactly the way it is. Before I move on to the next tip, I want to invite you to join me on this journey of transformation. If this video is helping you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive notifications about new content like this. Your comments are very important to me, so leave them below where you are watching this video. Sharing your experiences helps us create a community of mutual support. Now let's continue with the next tips, which are some of my favorites. The beauty of imperfection. The fourth secret of Eastern minimalist wisdom for finding peace is to embrace the beauty of imperfection. This principle teaches us to appreciate the imperfect, the incomplete, and the impermanent, recognizing that there is a deep and authentic beauty in things that show signs of wear, tear, and the passage of time. The problem we face in the modern world is the obsessive pursuit of perfection. We are constantly bombarded with images of perfect homes, perfect bodies, perfect lives, always immaculate, always new, always flawless. This impossible quest for perfection keeps us in a constant state of dissatisfaction with what we have and who we are. We compare our behind-the-scenes footage to the carefully edited highlights of other people's lives and inevitably feel inadequate. To apply this principle to your life, start by developing a kinder, more appreciative view of the imperfections around you and in yourself. Notice an old object in your home, perhaps a wooden table with signs of wear, a book with yellowed pages, a piece of clothing that has faded over time. Instead of seeing only deterioration, try to see how these marks tell a story, how they reveal a life lived, experiences accumulated. The same approach can be applied to the way you see yourself. The wrinkles that appear over time are not just signs of aging, but marks of expression, of emotions experienced, of shared laughter and challenges overcome. Your flaws are, in fact, what makes you unique and authentic. A practical example: try repairing something broken in a way that celebrates rather than hides the repair. There is an ancient technique that involves repairing broken pottery using a material that highlights rather than hides the cracks, transforming them into golden veins that enhance the beauty and history of the object. This method teaches us that something that has been broken and repaired is not less valuable. On the contrary, it can become more beautiful and meaningful because of its history. The benefits of embracing imperfection are profoundly liberating. First, you free yourself from the exhausting pressure of trying to look or be perfect according to impossible standards. Second, you develop a deeper appreciation for authenticity, both in objects and people. Third, you become kinder to yourself and others, recognizing that imperfections are not flaws to be fixed, but aspects of humanity to be embraced. Digital minimalism for mental clarity. The fifth secret of Eastern minimalist wisdom for finding peace is the practice of digital minimalism. This principle adapts the ancient teachings of simplicity and intentionality to one of the greatest challenges of the modern world: information overload and digital hyperconnectivity. While technology has brought countless benefits to our lives, it has also created a constant source of stimuli, distractions, and mental noise that our ancestors could never have imagined. The core problem is that we live in a state of near constant fragmented attention. We are bombarded with notifications, updates, alarming headlines, and a virtually endless supply of content designed to capture and hold our attention. This information overload has real consequences for our mental health. Increased levels of anxiety, difficulty concentrating, insomnia, and a constant feeling that we are missing out on something important if we are not constantly connected. To apply the principle of digital minimalism to your life, start by taking an honest inventory of your digital consumption. During a typical day, how much time do you spend on electronic devices? Which apps, websites, or platforms consume the most of that time? Which of these digital activities actually bring significant value to your life, and which are just automatic habits or forms of procrastination? Based on this assessment, create intentional boundaries around your technology use. This can include simple steps like turning off non-essential notifications, setting specific times to check email and social media, and creating regular periods of digital fasting, times when you completely disconnect from electronic devices. As a practical example, try implementing a sacred hour at the beginning of each morning before checking any devices. Use this time for activities that nourish your mind and spirit: meditation, reading, exercising, or simply enjoying a quiet meal. This simple practice can completely transform the tone of your day, allowing you to begin with clarity and intention, rather than immediately reacting to the digital world. The benefits of digital minimalism are profound and far-reaching. First, you reclaim a precious and finite commodity, your attention, which can then be directed toward what truly matters in your life. Second, you significantly reduce the anxiety and stress associated with information overload and social comparison. Third, you get time back. Hours that were previously consumed by endless scrolling can now be dedicated to activities that bring genuine satisfaction and personal growth. Simplicity rituals. The sixth secret of Eastern minimalist wisdom for finding peace is the creation and maintenance of rituals of simplicity. This principle teaches us that amidst the chaos and complexity of modern life, we can create small islands of order, beauty, and meaning through regular and intentional practices. Unlike the routine tasks that we perform mechanically, a ritual is an activity performed with full awareness and presence, transforming the mundane into the sacred. The problem we face in the contemporary world is the tendency to live in automatic mode, performing most of our daily activities mechanically, hurriedly, and inattentively. We rush from one task to another without truly inhabiting the present moment, thus losing the possibility of finding meaning and satisfaction in the small everyday experiences. To apply the principle of rituals of simplicity to your life, identify daily activities that could be transformed from routine tasks into moments of presence and meaning. Preparing a meal, waking up, cleaning the house. Any regular activity can become a ritual when done with intention, attention, and without rushing. Choose one of these activities and establish a specific way to do it that honors the moment. If it's making breakfast, for example, this might mean waking up a few minutes earlier so you don't have to rush, using utensils that you find beautiful, paying attention to the smells and textures of your food, and perhaps even expressing silent gratitude before eating. Here's a concrete example. Turn the end of your day into a closing ritual. Instead of collapsing exhausted in front of the television or checking work messages until you fall asleep, create an intentional sequence of actions that signal the end of your day. This might include briefly tidying up your house so you wake up to a tidy environment, laying out your clothes for the next day, reflecting briefly on what you've accomplished, and perhaps ending with a relaxing activity like reading or taking a hot bath. The benefits of simplicity rituals go far beyond practical organization. First, they create micro moments of peace and centeredness throughout the day, serving as anchors of stability even during turbulent times. Second, they transform mandatory activities into opportunities for pleasure and fulfillment. Third, and perhaps most importantly, they reconnect us with the deeper meaning of our everyday actions, reminding us that even the simplest act of care, whether for our space, our bodies, or our relationships, can be an expression of presence and love. Cultivation of inner silence. The seventh and final secret of Eastern minimalist wisdom for finding peace is the conscious cultivation of inner silence. This principle teaches us that amid the constant noise of the modern world, our ability to find and maintain a center of stillness within ourselves can be the most powerful source of peace and clarity. This is not just physical silence, although that is important, but a quality of mental stillness that allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming completely identified with them. The fundamental problem we face is that we live in a culture that values noise, constant expression, and ceaseless productivity. We rarely have permission to simply be silent, not doing, not producing, not consuming. Our minds become so accustomed to the external and internal noise that silence can initially feel uncomfortable, even disturbing. We seek constant distractions, music, television, conversations, social media, to avoid confronting this emptiness. To apply the principle of inner silence to your life, start by setting aside small moments of complete stillness in your day. It could be as little as 5 minutes in the morning, before the day begins with all its hustle and bustle, or a few moments in the evening before bed. Find a quiet place, turn off all electronic devices, and simply sit in silence. There's no need to do anything specific during this time. It's not about formal meditation or prayer, although those practices can be incorporated if you wish. It's simply about creating space for silence to exist in your life. As you become more comfortable with these brief moments, gradually extend them. You can also incorporate practices that nurture inner silence, even in noisy environments, such as focusing on your breath for a few moments before responding to a stressful situation, or taking mindful pauses between activities instead of immediately filling every available moment. A concrete example: try taking a quiet walk in nature without music, without talking, without taking photos for social media. Just you, your steps, and mindful observation of the natural world around you. Notice how this experience differs from your usual walks and how you feel after this time of intentional stillness. The benefits of cultivating inner silence are profound and transformative. First, you develop greater emotional resilience, becoming less reactive to external triggers. Second, your natural intuition and creativity have room to emerge when they are not constantly drowned out by mental noise. Third, you develop a more peaceful relationship with your own thoughts, learning to observe them without being overwhelmed by them. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, you discover a source of peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but is always available within you, even in the most challenging moments. We have reached the end of this journey through the 7 secrets of Eastern minimalism to escape stress and find peace. As we have seen, these ancient principles offer a profoundly different path than what modern society presents us as normal. While the world pushes us to go bigger, faster, higher, these ancient wisdoms invite us to go smaller, slower, deeper. It is important to remember that this is not a journey of perfection, but of intention. It is not about radically transforming your life overnight, but about incorporating these principles gradually with kindness and patience. Start by choosing just one of these secrets that resonates most with you at this moment in your life. Practice it consciously for a few weeks before adding another. Observe with curiosity, without judgment, how your experience of life subtly changes. You may notice that you begin to breathe more deeply, that your heart does not race as much in the face of the small setbacks of the day, that you find moments of beauty and gratitude where before you saw only obligations and rushing. This is the true magic of these principles. They do not just change what you do, but fundamentally transform how you experience life. If this content resonated with you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive more videos about ancient wisdom for modern challenges. Your comments and experiences are valuable to our community, so share your insights or questions below. In closing, I leave you with a question to reflect on. Which of these 7 secrets do you feel could bring the greatest transformation to your life right now? And what would be your first small step towards incorporating it? Share in the comments below. Remember that the most important journey is not external, but internal. And each small step towards simplicity and presence is a step towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life